we added Rhodey, Iron Patriot, who also had abilities and could come and fight, but could fight from the stance of the government. So Rhodey was in government while Iron Man was free and he was secular. And then it just kept on growing and kept on adding. And that's one of the things that's got to happen in the church, is that we've got to make this shift from solo leaders and solo pastors, and we've got to move into super teams. You know, this term super team really started to come up when LeBron and Chris Bosh went to Miami to join D Wade, and they formed the Heat, the super team. And it was an amazing thing. But the beautiful thing about that team, and I watched almost all of their games in that period that they were together, them 4 years they were together, some of the best times I enjoyed in basketball. And one of the things that I loved is that Superman didn't have to be on every night. He didn't have to be on every night because there were other leaders who could step up and do it. And so what's going to happen is that these great leaders, instead of going somewhere and struggling on their own, they're going to begin to come together to work together for the sake of building something bigger than what we could build by ourselves. We are shifting from Iron Man to the Avengers. We're shifting from Superman to the Justice League. We are moving from this one leader who does everything to a team of leaders who can ensure that the church begins to strive. Come on, somebody put Avengers in the chat. Put Avengers in the chat. Somebody say that. Avengers. We are shifting to a time and a space where we're going to see high-level leaders. And I know this is true. And again, I've said this over and over, but I'm a part of such a team. And we were talking about that at staff meeting this morning, is that we literally have a super team. We literally have all these high-level leaders who could go out on their own and do some things, but we have decided to come together to do what we're called to do for the sake of the kingdom. And y'all, it is paying dividends. You see momentum. You see things moving faster than they would normally move, but it's because we are coming together. And so one of the things that we're going to see is a shift from solo acts to super teams. All right, y'all drop that Avengers in the chat. If you're on Facebook, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on YouTube, wherever you're watching from, drop that in the chat. Avengers. All right. Here's the question I want you to ask: who's on your super team right now? And I want you to get this. I won't spend too much time here, but I want you to get this. There are different types of super teams. Some super teams are bought and some are built, right? And neither is wrong. Some are bought and some are built. All right. The Miami Heat is one where I would use the term bought. And I'm saying bought, not just that they spent money on it, because all teams spend money on their players, but because those players were in other places, they left where they were to come together. You know, somehow in our culture, we push back against it and we think it's worse if it's not organic. But it's okay to assemble a team if that team is going to help you accomplish the mission that Jesus is giving you. And then there are other teams that are built. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they drafted most of their players, not all of them, right? Because they traded for their superstar, for their number one player. But for the most part, they began to build it. The San Antonio Spurs, great example. In the early 2010s, they drafted that team. They drafted Tim Duncan. They drafted Ginobili. They drafted Kawhi. They drafted Tony Parker. All those different things. But you've got to ask who's on your super team. And either you're going to be able to look out and say, who could we come together with? How could I come together with somebody? Or you're going to begin to look around you and look at the people you have and say, how can I train them? One of the things I love about the Avengers is that even the Avengers have a training center. Oh my goodness. Come on. I'm blessing this. I'm blessing somebody right now. The Avengers have a training center. If you go and you watch the end credits of some of their early movies, one of the things that you see is that they assemble all of their super team in this place that is designed to tailor make to their gifts. Same thing with the X-Men. You had to go to the house and be there with Professor X, and he had a room that was tailored to everybody's superpowers so they could practice their superpowers without anybody getting hurt, without any impact to the outside world. And that's one of the things we've got to do in the church, is that we've got to prepare to shift from the solo act to the super team. All right. That's number one. All right. If that's blessing you, somebody let me know in the chat. Was that good for you? All right. Number one is to shift from solo max to super teams. All right. Number two is that mergers and acquisitions are coming to the Black church. Mergers and acquisitions are coming to the Black church. This is important. Now, to be clear, this has been happening for years. For decades, this has been happening, but it has not been happening a lot in the Black church. It is not, especially not from Black church to Black church. It's been happening, but it's not been happening in the Black church. And so one of the things that we're about to see is Black churches are about to catch up with the rhythm. And so what's going to happen is that you're going to see some of our stronger institutions help our weaker and dying institutions live on through mergers and acquisitions. All right. What am I talking about let's define those two terms. When we talk about a merger, we're talking about two organizations coming together to create something new. Two organizations coming together to create something new. Now, the name may or may not change, depending on, if there's a name that has a strong history or whatever it is, whatever. But the idea is that two churches, usually similar in season, similar in assets, similar in momentum, come together and say, hey, let's take these two churches of 20 people and let's build one church of 60 people. Right, now you heard what I said. I didn't say two churches of 20 people and build a church of 20 people, because when you bring two churches together, it is not addition, it's multiplication, because there are gifts that did not work in one of those churches that will work when those two churches come together and create a new strategy. And so when I talk about a merger, I'm talking about two churches that are similar coming together to create one church that is bigger, stronger, and better. When I talk about acquisitions, I'm talking about a strong church that is taking ownership of a younger church. So in general, if the smaller church or the dying church has a building, it has a couple of people, it has leaders, it has money in the bank, it will be acquired by the strong church, and those leaders who are willing to come, those assets are signed over, all those things begin to happen. And it can look a million different ways. Sometimes that dying church becomes a campus. Sometimes it gets sold and becomes something different. But mergers and acquisitions are coming to the Black church. Here is the old way of thinking. Dying churches are fighting for their lives to stay alive, even as they keep on dying. They're fighting. And they're going from 100 to 60 to 40. And even when they get down to 20 and 15 and 10 people, they're still trying to do it by themselves. And in some ways, it is insanity, because they're doing the exact same things they've always done, hoping that things will change. And now there's one thing for a church to be declining and they change their strategy. They change their approach. They change how they're doing things in an effort to move things forward. But when the church is going down and it's clear that we cannot turn, you've got to do something different. And one of the things that's going to happen is that the stronger churches are going to serve the kingdom by absorbing the struggling churches. And what they're going to do is they're going to come in and they're going to help steward those resources and those people. And they're going to give them a new sense of mission to come together so that they can drive things ahead for the sake of the kingdom. Now, we've seen this happen in a couple of Black churches. I saw one of these happen. I won't call the name, but I saw one of these happen late last year, I believe it is. Two pretty strong Black churches came together, but one was obviously stronger than the other. They merged together. One became a campus with that senior pastor becoming the campus pastor, and one kind of became the mother church, but they operated as one staff. So two campuses, but one vision, one staff. And that's something that we saw and we are going to see. And here's one of the things that you got to understand. Please hear me. Ego, history, and tradition have to get out of the way. If we're going to see our churches survive, you got to understand that ego, history, and tradition have got to get out of the way. Because here's one of the unfortunate truths. When a church has to go all the way to the level of a closure, not an acquisition, not a merger, but all the way to the level of the closure, there is a percentage of that congregation that never goes back to church, because they were sure that they had found their community. They were sure that they had found their leader. They were sure they had found some people they could connect with. And when you go from having a church to cold turkey to nothing at all, some of those people don't recover, or it takes them a very long time to recover. And one of the best things that you could do is to go through a merger or acquisition that allows them to not only keep on going, but puts them in a place where maybe even they could go higher than where you could take them. I think that's important.